Hi, welcome back to the Dylan Rounds case. Welcome if you're currently here in the live chat. I appreciate it. Today, we're going to be looking at a range of things, some important stuff to do with, the timeline in a map analysis storytelling format, right? Some very interesting critical points to mention. As you'll see by the title of this video, we'll be looking at that later today, so make sure to stick around. To begin with, what we need to do is, in response to Linda and a viewer request, she wanted a summary of Lucin, places of interest, locations associated with Dylan's disappearance, the case overall. So, from at least my knowledge and what I know of, I'll present that to you very shortly. And hopefully it summarises it in short, in brief, and it's of use. It might actually be helpful down the line for other people that may pop in to the video because they want a quick summary, I guess. Also, as we do go along throughout this video, feel free to share your thoughts, opinions and reactions in the live chat on the box on the right hand side. Make sure to use it. And if you haven't checked out my previous video, I've provided a link down below in the pinned comment section, so make sure to check that out. And once again, later on in this video, we're going to be doing a map analysis as well, more specifically to do with Brenner handing the guns over to Don, what that could entail, revealing possible motives behind it, reasoning and thoughts, etc., stuff like that, as well as the attempted call made from Brenner to Don when whilst Brenner has been in Weber County Jail. Okay, so more about that later on. We'll get into it deeper, and we'll probably bring up a few prompts, a few talking points regarding some of that a bit later when we look at the comment section on some of the previous YouTube videos. So there's a lot to look at today, but it's not too bloated, so don't worry, right? So let's move on first to Lucin, the area summarised. Okay, so here we are on the maps. We'll just zoom in so you get a better look and feel for things. As we see down here is the grain shed, okay? And nearby is where Brenner squatted. This is the grain shed. Dylan parked his grain truck in. Not far away, somewhere down here, is this point here is the burning pit, also known as the dirt mound, which just behind it was where the boots were found dumped. Okay, we just zoom out now. Nearby we do have a wash. Is it the wash? I'm not quite sure. Seeing Candice Cooley, Mob Crew Chris, Justin, Equisearch, K9 unit supposedly investigate it, but their main focus, I believe, was of a different wash somewhere else in the area. I'm not quite sure which one, okay? But I just wanted to point out, you've got this wash, which does run down that way, as you see, where the brown marks are. It does actually come from Grouse Creek, which is just over there in the distance, as you can see, way up here. I have done a video in the past where we follow it all the way down. As you can see, it winds in and out, comes down here, okay, and then eventually it does go underneath the railroad tracks into Lucin, okay. You might be able to see it here. Flip the image slightly. There you go. Underneath the railroad tracks there, from Grouse Creek, way in the distance, bends round and goes down that way, past the grain shed, in parallel to it, okay? Another key spot within Lucin is here, which is Lucin Pond, as you can see, near to the railroad tracks. This is where the phone was found, dumped in there. It's also been drained and dug up kind of in recent time too. Nothing else found, supposedly speaking. It has been decimated. Trees are less in volume now, okay? Do we have any other locations? We do have Lucin Airport, which has been talked about a few times, but it doesn't have too much linkage to Dylan's disappearance. There's been theories associating Dylan maybe transported here, taken elsewhere, but there's no hard evidence to prove that. Okay. We just zoom back on in. Here we've got Sun Tunnels, which doesn't have much linkage to Dylan, though it's like a key spot where either supposedly campers were at some point, which may have witnessed stuff. Also, it's like in between the grain shed and Dylan's farm down that way east, okay? So it's more of like a key mark, if you want to call it that, right? It's an area which has had the odd few stories told where supposedly Chase Venster was nearby driving about at one point. But as I said, it's just like either rumours or little stories, and that's basically it. But if we do go down this way, of course, we do end up reaching Dylan's farm, which is here, okay? This is Dylan's farm. That in the middle is Dylan's pond, okay? So that's where he didn't live here, but he may have stayed the odd night here and there where he's been doing his farm work, okay? Aside from this being Dylan's actual farm, there is significance behind this, such as the events of Dylan waking up on the day, the 28th, the day before, nighttime, 27th Friday, witnesses nearby campers seeing Dylan supposedly operating farming equipment, doing his seeding on the land, okay? If we rotate around and we look south, over that way you get those little mountains, also known as Little Pigeon Mountains. This is round about the area where those campers were the 27th Friday night. So they were in view of Dylan's farm back that way, okay? And speaking of which, in between the two or so, there's another pond down here. Is there much significance behind it? I think people have worded it as Dylan's fish pond. Don't know if that's entirely true. I'm not sure if there's any fish there, but that's the only thing I've really heard of, okay? Is there anything else of interest further east? Well, you've got the chop shop, which don't know if I can find on the spot because it is a bit of a pain to locate, to be fair. Let's just see if there's anything else in between. Just quickly referring back to the chop shop, does it hold any significance, true significance? More so just stories of, you know, it's supposedly abandoned. It does look a bit spooky, a bit creepy, but that's about it, though it's not been investigated by the police. And it's like, well, maybe it should have been, considering it's within Lucin area or nearby, right? Anywhere else? I mean, if we're doing it on like the mountain side, okay, kind of like Bald Eagle Mountain and Governor's Spring, which is here. This is a location the odd few people have been to search about, okay, as you would know, like Ty Corbin, maybe more Lance Kelly and Kimber when they went up to Governor's Spring, just searching about, looking for Dylan. Not much was found there, okay? As further down here along the mountainous part, more so here, Pilot Peak, around this area, this is supposedly where there's trash and rubbish right on top of this peak, this area. And this is also a place Don Hately, in the beginning of the Dylan Rounds case, pointed to as a potential place to where Dylan could be at. He basically lied to the police and wasted police time because police went up there and found absolutely nothing, and then they were pissed off afterwards, okay? So there's that. Oh, low battery, you twat. We do have a farm or two down here, as you see, with the pivot. Don't know who actually owns them, but it could well be some of the names mentioned in the past, okay? As for the grain shed, just to refer back to, and the surrounding area, it's like parcel lands owned by different people, different initials, okay? I can't word it directly on the spot who is who, but you probably would have seen Linda last night when we looked at those like shortened names, and there'll be a comment by Patsy, I think. She summarised it, okay? Maybe I probably could even read it out in this video shortly after. It might actually be helpful, okay? Is there anywhere else? I mean, there's a couple of things more up that way, but they're not really to do directly with Dylan. We do have a pivot here, but that's not owned by Dylan. That's owned by someone else, okay? to be honest, that's about it, okay? The only other thing you could possibly point out is if you're looking diagonally down that way, literally diagonally down, that's supposedly the route Dylan would take in the past if he was walking back to his farm, about 5 miles in distance, okay? The only other spot here is roughly in this area, this is where the final phone ping was originally placed, okay? And then when it was more detailed, the actual accuracy improved, it was here, okay? And that's really about it for Lucin, okay? From at least my knowledge, from what I know of, summarised. I mean, the only other thing you could acknowledge, and it's not groundbreaking or ultra important, though you probably can talk about it still. Let's make sure I'm in focus. Down here, okay, line it up. See these like little buildings, structures. This is supposedly the brass shed. Not quite sure what that means. It's like for like equipment, material, where things would be stored at, okay? Not been too much talk about it. It's not really been brought up ever since, but I remember it in the past. Something to do with Dylan's brass shed. That's how it was worded, at least, okay? Don't know if it's been updated or debunked since, but it's not too far away, okay, from the grain shed. You see that pathway there. I mean, you've got the gate here, as you see, which is a flimsy gate, which does go onto the grain shed on that way. If we turn around, looking south, just down at that crossroad, you'll see sun tunnels, and then left is Dylan's farm down that road over that way, okay? So this is the only other like key spot you could call. So like with the phone ping of Dylan and the phone call made, last known communication with Dylan on the 28th at 6:51 a.m. Okay. And yeah, that's it summarised for Lucin. Right, so hopefully that was summarised quick enough. Also take in mind that this video still has a 2-minute, I guess, countdown at the beginning. That's just because of it trying to be done in a live premiere format, as well as the purpose of allowing enough people to join in at this time to be able to watch it live and almost be in sync with one another or as much as possible, right? So maybe when it's on playback, some people will think, oh, 2 minutes of time wastage, but maybe I can provide like even a timestamp down below, because I know you get some people who are so impatient, right? I don't know if any of you have seen them, and it can be on other videos too, where people say, they'll leave a comment saying, put it in 1.5 times speed, put it in 1.25 times speed, save you time. And it's like, excuse me, you do not do the talking for me. You're not my personal representative, nor my parrot on the shoulder. Fuck off and watch it, okay? You want to be impetuous and complain, speed it up, click right at the end, and then you'll not understand anything, right? You know what I'm saying? I know there'll be other humans that do put it on a faster speed just because it's more efficient for them. But to be advising other people to do it as well, it's like, you know, people have their own preferences. Don't do the speaking and talking on others, you fucking prick. I mean, idiots, absolute degenerates, okay? Saw it in the Kenny Veach case quite a lot. And as well, the people that leave the timestamps to almost like skip ahead and advise other people to skip ahead, like such degenerative behaviour, absolute spasmodic spasticity, spasticness, okay? There you go. But let's just put that aside, okay? As for the 27th, which is no longer, okay? Talking about Brenner, the court case, the trial, you know, what's going on with that. This morning, I think it was, or it might have been last night, probably last night, I just left a comment on Glorin Dylan's channel, okay? Just saying, have you heard anything? And she said, not at the moment, but she might contact someone. And if she does get any news, any words, she will make a video about it, okay? And she might even reply to my comment as well. So that's still, you know, kind of quiet at the moment, but we'll see how things go. I'm sure there'll be something at least, whether it be acknowledgement that it's gone down or it's been delayed, who knows, whichever one, but just wanted to let you know that that's still going on in the background, okay? I think shortly we'll just briefly check out the comments of the last video, because then we can tie it in with that parcel of land and the names of these different individuals, which was summarized, which was good. So that can clear that little bit of confusion up, and see if there's any other comments that need clearing up, answering, analysing and whatnot. Last night, once again, people are on good behaviour. I noticed Ellenberg left a comment saying what happened to the chat, and it's like, I don't know, you asked me what happened to the chat. I saw the chat, it's still there. The live replay chat is still there, so not quite sure. I don't know if it's to do with like people impersonating one another or pretending. Maybe there's that. Maybe Ellen thinks some people aren't taking the case too serious. Is there really anything that really stands out like that? I mean, the only thing that was dodgy, but it was kind of obvious, but maybe if you're not in on the mix of the case or sense of humour, you're probably not gonna really understand, or if you take things more serious, which is fine itself, you might not quite understand it, is when Fast Eddie was saying he was Ed Harshberger and so on, kind of like taking on a joke, being a bit sarcastic because some of the people accusing him of that, just like I was accused of fake hair, and then that went on a bit. So yeah, maybe some people didn't quite understand that, I'm just messing around, okay? But still, fairly good behaviour in the chat. A little bit quieter last night, but still consistent. Still ideas and discussions being generated, which is all good. And yeah, I mean, kind of like Ty Corbyn is still in the presence, in the atmosphere. If you see on like other videos, I think it might have been Johnny Yarborough's recently. So there's that. But yeah, we just continue the discussions, just continue to, I guess, spread awareness on the case and keep it alive. And I think it's time now to just head on over to the comments. And then what we'll do is there is an additional post on the Find Dylan Rounds Facebook page. Just read that out. I think it might be something to do with general public wanting to help and search. We'll just see what the responses are there. And yeah. So here we are, we'll start from the bottom, work our way up. And I think what we'll also do is check some comments on the previous video, because there was an interesting suggestion by Indiana, and I think a discussion like that needs to be acknowledged, okay? So hopefully people are around later to hear about it. So Linda says, I wonder if they've charged him with murder today. Not today, but the day before, okay. Anything else? Nope, not much there. What does Tom say? Great timing. Joy Perry. I only heard it was for weapons/gun charges only, but what do I know? Well, are you talking about Brenner? Are you talking about Chase Venstre? Yeah, it is gun charges. What's this? Just now watching today. Appreciate you in chat sticking up for yourself and defending your opinion. Joy Perry, give me a call. Joseph, lol. On the psychic line, you're funny. So Joy confirms she's not a psychic. Okay. And I've been rereading between the lines of Kurt's interview. Listen carefully. Okay. I think Joy Perry originated from the Find Dylan Rounds Facebook page community. That's where I first came across Joy Perry. And then I guess she appeared on my channel shortly afterwards, which was interesting. Don't know if it's happened to anyone else. Indiana with an interesting comment. Candice cloned Dylan's phone, but were the times Utah, Nevada, or Idaho times all with 1 hour time difference? Does it make any difference? Well, when it comes to Chase, it does. Okay. What's this one? Let's just see what Joseph says. I'm curious. First of all, yes, she cloned his phone and there's 1 hour time difference on the stamp data, but the time frame is the same, should not matter on timeline. Imagine changing the clock back an hour, so that's a non-issue. I think she got a lot of info and FBI, mostly his social media accounts. That's why she told Ellenberg on the way out of the casino in Wendover that she didn't even know Dylan was gay until then. but this is how they have everything they need to know about the property and who was there, and when Printer had the phone, they know where it was. My big question for you now is, what's Chase have to do with anything? Chase is not involved except maybe as a drug runner to Brenner. In my opinion, that's what the fight between Brenner and Chase was about. Did you hear the Kylie channel's new interviews with Kurt W? Kylie? Oh, wait, hold on. Joseph, when you say Kylie, are you talking about Kaylee? Kaylee, her. The one who said she looks like a scarecrow in Lucin. That one. Because she did do a recent interview with Kurt Wadsworth on her channel. Okay. Was there anything that stood out to me in this comment that I need to look back at? A bit about, that's why she told Ellen Berg on the way out of the casino in Wendover that she didn't even know Dylan was gay until then. This is, she didn't even know Dylan was gay until then. Until then? What, until then she did know he was gay? But this is the thing, like, it's a bit messy, this. Joseph is agreeing with Candice Cooley about Chase being innocent and quite firm on that. But Joseph also, is highlighting that Dylan was gay, but then Candice Cooley has denied that. So, like, Joseph is kind of agreeing and disagreeing at the same time in a way. A little bit. Okay. Leave your thoughts, though. Your response. Tara, whip. Tara, whip, whip, whip. Robert Berger, Baker, Nevada, 100 miles south of Montello, known for Lehrman Caves and Wheeler Peak. Okay. So, Robert, this location, does it have significance? Any link to Dylan Rounds? Do you feel it's a possible place where Dylan was taken to? Or where some kind of suspicious activity went underway at some point? Let me know, okay? We got Cleo, shout out to Cleo, the playful witch, brush the feather upon her face. What's this? Joseph Lloyd. Okay, what's this? Yeah, it was really interesting that Brenner, Don Hately spazzing out here. Interesting that Brenner and Don Hately hold his... That fucking language is fucked. My God, I'll try and read it out myself differently. Yeah, it was really interesting how Brenner told Don Hately to hold his weapons. All of a sudden, obviously Don caught on when Dylan, 4 weeks on, June 7th, Don turns the guns over Ellie. He obviously knew at that point Brenner was guilty. Hope everybody's having a great day. Okay, yeah. See, Brenner gets at least 10 years in prison. Indiana briefly worded it like that as well. Fuck off. What's this? Hopefully we hear something on the courts today. Like, this to think. As I've said in the past, Don Hately is a snake in the grass, grassing up on a friend, possibly. You know, sometimes you do that to a friend. Yes, no. Is it to cover your own back? Most definitely. See, these are some of these like rough little predictions and wordings and ideas, concepts I created way back in the past, and it looks like it could be the case. You know, this is the thing, the pattern is, I have said a few things here and there, suggested, talked about, then they've been dismissed or kind of forgotten about, and then Candice Cooley has confirmed this or that, and it turned out that I was right. A certain concept or a certain way things were planned out. Okay, so I've seen that pattern as well. But, you know, Don Hately, you know, you get given firearms. Providing you know the person, you're probably not going to react. You'll be thinking, sure, okay, fine, that's okay, no issues there. But then, shortly afterwards, you hear about a person going missing, and someone you know, and someone Brenner does know. And you start thinking, oh, wait, did Brenner pass these firearms onto me to hold on to him because he used them or used one of them? And he doesn't want to be caught in possession of them because he'll be directly tied and then, you know, arrested immediately. So Brenner did that to spread or clear the blame, pass it on to someone else, such as Don, myself. I'm talking in his words, okay? He's like, oh no, I'm not gonna, take the rap. I'm not gonna go down for this when I didn't do anything wrong. I'll surrender him into the police. I'll clear my name. Maybe he did that, possibly. I mean, at what point? I mean, look, this is the thing, and you know what? I think we can probably go onto the maps. Do you know what? I'm not sure if to do a bit of a dodgy on-the-spot map analysis, because it's only a small one. So like what I've just said there, I think I might apply it to like a story map time just shortly, okay? I think that's probably a better idea, that. Yes, there we go. Ellen, what happened to the chat? I said, I don't know what happened to the chat. Does anyone know what happened to the chat last night? Did anything bad happen? Was there any drama? Not from what I remember. Like one of the nights, okay? Yeah, one of the nights when the video was on, I was looking at the chat but not commenting as much because that Tommy Fury versus Jake Paul boxing fight was on and I was watching it live. So I kept switching between the screens. It's quite a good match. Francis Strickland, I haven't seen any on here. Seen what? I don't know. Smee Fishing. So Brenner has been interviewed about Dylan. Candy said he has never been interviewed about Dylan. Right, okay. Right, this is the thing, and the way it's been worded in the past. Candice Cooley has said for quite some time Brenner has not been interviewed by police, LE, Box Elder County Sheriff's Department, none of them. Not been interviewed at all. The last time he was interviewed was June the something when he was arrested, around that time. And that was more likely to do with the unrelated charges. That's how it's been worded by Candice Cooley. Just in case anyone's confused. It's just how she words things at times. And I'll just say it one more time. Brenner was interviewed roughly once. And that was when he was arrested with unrelated charges. Okay? And ever since then, he's not truly been interviewed, sat down, spoken to, questioned. It's just not happened. Okay? What's this one? Dylan had already been missing when JB took the guns to Don Hately. He was interviewed and thought, I need to get rid of these guns. And if I was betting man, use a 22. Okay, fair point. We will get into a bit of that later. Here we go. This is the interesting comment. Feel free to focus on this. And also, Linda, this could help you regarding the parcel of land around the grain shed and that property, roughly speaking. SH, known as Steve Horton, in brackets, neighbouring parcel. RI, Randy Irungari, neighbouring parcel. JS, John Sheldon, transferred parcel to JC. Joseph Cecchio, transferred parcel to Box Elder Land and Livestock by Cecchio. It's now owned by Double RJ Farms. Don't know if Cecchio is still the owner. Okay? Might have to read that a few times for it to sink in. For me at least, I might memorise the names eventually. You know what I'm saying? I might not remember them all on the spot. Maybe John Sheldon at least, because it just seems to stick in my mind, that one. Is it groundbreaking information? No. If you can't remember it, if you do forget, it's not the end of the world, okay? Like, this to think, and just take it into mind when you do look into the case. If at any point you get confused and you're like, oh, well, I thought it was this, oh, I thought it was that, and you get like really, really confused and fucked in the head and everything, it's not, it's under control. Most of the important stuff, which may be limited, very limited, is a bit easier to remember and not as confusing, okay? Most of the time, the switching and changing of bits and bobs of info aren't as relevant or aren't as significant in the Dylan Rounds case, okay? So that's what I mean by it's not the end of the world, right? Whatever evidence they have, certain phone pings and data they have and noted down, certain dates, timelines, what we know of and heard in brief, not been questioned too much, okay? I mean, the only little bump in the road you could call it was the gun and key fob. Was it returned or was it not missing to begin with? Switching and changing with that, you could say that's a bit problematic. But at least from how I've reacted to things, at least just applying it to me, most of the time I've been confused by information which was either in the early stages, which was bound to switch and change, or at a later point it was less relevant information or not as important. Okay, that's how I word it. Anything else? Jacqueline Rampley, brilliant. I now have more info as to how the dates unfolded and a few more names. Thank you. Also, Jacqueline, if you're watching this video right now, hopefully you found the names below helpful as well, so you know who to refer back to. But this is a good example of someone who's been able to learn more stuff in somewhat of a successful way. So it just goes to show that the dissections of the case, of a person, an event, a location, whatever it may be, can work out instead of cramming it into multiple talking points of multiple different stuff in 10 hours of one video. That's not practical there, but it is in this format. So hopefully that was of use to you. We'll just briefly refer back to the previous video comments because there was some I didn't get round to answering, okay? Right, comment here by Tom Evans on this previous video. Do you know what colour Georgia boot boxes are? I don't personally. Indiana responds, brown, but Georgia, pair A trooper boots, lace-ups come in a red and light brown box. Looking at Brenner, he is more likely associated with lace-up boots. And it's been talked about that Dylan Rounds had laceless boots, slip-on ones, if I'm correct in saying that. So it's been worded many times in the past. We've got Cleo there. H2O, what does this say? Can't remember if there's a vehicle missing. No, there's no vehicles missing. No, Candice Cooley has said that as well. Candice Cooley said the interesting part with the case is there's absolutely no vehicles missing. Okay. What's this? I'm just learning charting and don't understand directions like north, south, etc. So use cheat sheet from the moon position. I mean, if you're on Google Maps, Google Earth, there is a compass bottom right corner of the screen and that will tell you which direction you're facing in, okay? Indiana, here we go. I think this is the key question. Is there any chance we can have a video on what was to be Dylan's upcoming inheritance and how Dylan's family were not happy about it? Cheers in advance. So me personally, never heard of that before, okay? Weedleby says, I remember something about that. I heard rumours that they were giving him land and his grandma's home because it was his favourite place or something, and his family was upset. But I also heard that was a lie, so I don't know what to think. Okay, so it's kind of fallen flat, that. That's why we don't go too deep into some stuff. I might word a video with a question mark for obvious reasons, right? So you don't get too lost. Facts or lies, we need to know, okay? Tom says, I remember the same thing. Dylan stayed at his great-grandmother's Norma's house when he was in Rigby, Idaho. Somebody wanted to build a pilot truck stop on some of the property. They were offered millions of dollars for it. Dylan did not want to lose the house. Okay. This inheritance. So what? Is the inheritance to do with Dylan's great-grandmother or just Dylan's grandparents? Who? If anyone knows. Okay. And if Dylan's family supposedly not happy about it, not happy that they didn't receive something themselves and they were a bit jealous that Dylan got it all. I mean, I've not heard much about any of this, so I can't go too deep, but if I had to just roughly, randomly come up with some kind of theory on the spot, and it will trigger some resistance, is what do you feel that this inheritance, certain family members felt threatened or felt jealous, so they wanted to take Dylan out so then they could get the inheritance themselves and maybe some additional bits and bobs in between to benefit? Is that what you're hinting at? I don't know. But yeah, there you go. Wheedleby, shucks, I missed a stream. Don't worry, you've got a habit of doing that. Don't feel too bad, I did too. Well said, Joseph. Oh, what's this? What's this? Oh, okay, let's just read this. I'm watching the replay and I'm already aggravated by the shack lady. So I think this is to do with the shack lady popping into my live video premiere a couple of days ago. Yeah. She was able to answer a few questions from me, so that was good of her. So what does Joseph say? He finds her annoying. It's so annoying how she cannot call out Salty Pancakes for doxing people or ask Kurt Wadsworth real questions. He has nothing to offer, yet always tries to come across very thorough, yet just tears down people that are the least worthy of it. You don't hear criticising Jim Terry. You don't hear criticising Salty when he does everything so dirty or wrong. I'll be so glad when Dylan's case is solved. Rats. Never ever been to Montello but can answer for people that live there. You don't defend the ones that are innocent and attacked for honesty. Everybody can see a dirty double standard. Like, just to provide a possible explanation for this situation, Joseph, the reason why the shack lady may not call out Pancakes or Jim Terry or this or that is because she's kind of on the fence. Down to the fact that she has said in the past she doesn't want to pick a side because she'll get attacked from the other if she supports the one. Okay? And because she's had him on her shows, maybe more so in the past, both at the same time and separate, it's like you can't start defending one because then the other one will back off and vice versa. So I guess maybe she's trying to keep things somewhat cool, trying to reduce tension in a way, possibly, to cover her own back, just in case she gets attacked herself. But then again, to be fair, she says she has been attacked regardless because she hasn't chosen a side. So you see, it's a bit of a messy situation. That's why when you do possibly do live streams or when you do possibly invite people onto your shows, it can make you a target and it just gets very messy. Sometimes it's probably best staying out of that stuff. I mean, I wonder what would happen if the shack lady called out this person and that person for the negative stuff they've supposedly done. Then it just means there's two lots of drama going to be directed towards her, most likely. What's this? Wheedleby. What? Needs whipped, Rafi. In the worst way. I can tell by the tone. Take him to the shack and do the deed, Raf. Wait, Wheedleby, are you asking me to whip Joseph Lloyd? Is that what you're saying? What's this? Girl, it ain't me that needs a whipping. You should have seen that chat room drama. Ask Linda... Oh, fuck off with that stupid twat. Ask Linda Cushing. She was on it too. Just so sick of the attacking. Decent people who don't deserve it. 1 or 2 days ago. Well, it wasn't even that bad, to be honest, compared to previous stuff. Wait, so Joseph, you're saying you don't feel like you deserve a whip? Said by the person who's always late, okay? I mean... Do you imagine, like, high school situation, always turning up late? You don't expect to have a detention. Ooh, got another thing coming now. Wheedleby. Oh, I know, but I'd still love to watch him bend you over and put the belt to your behind, just for my own selfish entertainment. So it looks like Wheedleby is getting a little bit too excited here. And, wait, so Wheedleby is asking me to bend him over. I mean, no, he can bend over himself. I'm not going to start positioning him like a fucking mannequin doll. It'd be a bit weird, a bit awkward. Christian Tale is called LSD Killer in Spanish Forks, killed once by hanging, and Orion Hooley, he had been moved. Don't know if he is the one talking about. Right, that might be something to do with a discussion point I looked at in the video of this. Okay, thanks for giving us the space to talk. Appreciate it every day, even when I don't make the chat. You've been amazing. Yeah. My dad owned a bar and I've seen a million of them. Keep them up. Shout out to Joseph. It's good what he says. Diane Smith, I guess she's a new viewer. Welcome, Diane. Whatever happened to the crop Dylan was growing? I guess it needed maintenance because it had that leaky pipe or something from the whole pivot situation. It just flooded, kind of went to shit. Supposedly Don Haley was supposed to maintain or manage it, but he failed to do so. So I guess that caused a little bit of tension there. As for Dylan's pivot, there was, the potential for growth and success, but short-lasting, and there's not much left now. The only other thing I do remember is Candice Cooley did do a Facebook post where she said her mother, Candice Cooley's mother, collected some of the crop or some of the plants, whatever that was grown there, and turned it into jewellery or something, because part of the pivot was closed off during the investigation. Don't know what else happened there, though, if anything was found, if it's still treated as a place of interest or not. What do you think in the chat about Dylan's pivot? Is it needing another search, or is it being cleared up for definite? Let me know your thoughts. Caroline Middleton, shout out to Caroline. I'm usually crafting whilst listening to your video, so don't get to read the live chat often. I love that you go over the comments in the following video, kind of like what I'm doing now. Some are very interesting, can bring in snippets of new information. Always enjoy the videos. Keep up the good work. So yeah, that's good what Caroline says. Derb D, I've seen it before because I thought it was the beer box for those cans. That's just to do with near the dirt mound, what she's talking about, that box that's been half buried in the ground. Indy JC equals Joe Cecchio. Okay, that further reinforces that. Is that it for the comments here at least? Okay, that's fine. Right, so we're just back on the maps, and I just wanted to reintroduce this previous project I had, which just had like key timestamps, timeframes of how things followed out, as you can see. But yeah, we've got Don's place over there too. Just want to try and talk it through and understand what was going through Brenner's head at the time, post Dylan's disappearance, post doing what he's done to Dylan, supposedly, okay? I mean, what I want to say first of all, from what I have seen and heard, Brenner has never killed anyone before, right? So did that impact Brenner in any way possible? Like how you might react to doing something bad afterwards. You might not care, or you might show remorse. You might appear guilty, all kinds of stuff. Is there anyone in the chat who's been in the presence of Brenner and witnessed him just after him committing some kind of crime, getting in some kind of trouble? How does he appear? How does he act? How does he sound? What does he say? Does he give any clues away? Does he make himself look guilty or innocent? If you know, feel free to list it down below. But I would say at least that, considering it is also to do with Brenner snapping, right, on the spot, not exactly planned, and with the fact of Dylan being killed in the process, homicide from the looks of it, there's a very, very small chance that Brenner was a little, could you call it shocked by the outcome? He's like, oh shit, I didn't expect to kill someone. I've never really done that before. He might not show lots of remorse or think, oh my God, I can't believe what I've done. But he could have panicked a little bit, right? He may have panicked thinking, oh no, this has gone a bit too far, right? And, if you do panic, you're probably more inclined to try and dispose of a body, of someone, because you just don't really know how to act or what to really do. I mean, we have briefly talked about it in the past where at the grain shed, if it was somehow a possibility that it was accidental, if Brenner was reversing the grain truck and somehow ran Dylan over, they could have panicked there and thought, oh, what can I do? Well, I can't call the police and say there's been an accident because they'll just instantly blame me or assume I'm the one responsible. And as well, with having a criminal history, I'm kind of screwed either way. So maybe it's easier just hiding Dylan's body. and just going from there. Yeah, that's just like one way of looking at it, right? But yeah, post that. I mean, when I say post Dylan's disappearance or post Dylan's outcome, you can still apply it on the same day, Saturday, right? Like, if Dylan was taken out in, like, the morning time, okay? So the bed is fucking broke at the moment. That's why it's creaking crazy. Stoney, fix the bed, okay? But yeah, Brenner does what he does to Dylan, okay? Saturday, May 28th. What does he do then? Well, later we've heard about him going to the pond and probably disposing of the phone at some point, as well as going to Don's for the barbecue. And we have said previously, I wonder what they were talking about, what were they discussing, okay? So that's happened. We don't need to go too deep with that. And then the following day, Sunday, when they should have been looking for Dylan, and they didn't, but later on they supposedly went to Montello at Cowboy Bar and hung out there. What did they talk about then as well? That's what we referred to. What I want to know is, at any point from then till here, did Brenner ever slip into the conversation hinting at the possibility of, hey, Don, can you keep a hold of my guns just for now? Do you think he could have suggested it then or not? Because, we've seen those documents, the court ones last night, how Don said, going into June, early June, that's when Brenner passed them over to Don to keep a hold of, because it was the safest and best, most practical thing to do in Brenner's situation, considering it's gone wrong and backfired in the past. But more so, it'd be even more, I guess, critical and necessary now if Brenner was the one responsible for taking Dylan out. You don't want to be associated with owning guns, person going missing, you being a person of interest, tying it all together as one, and then you're completely screwed. As well, with a criminal history as well. They'll definitely look right at you as the main and first suspect. So there's that. Let me know your thoughts. Do you think the conversation ever crept in between then? That's what I want to know. And then, follow on into June when it actually did take place. Brenner still being in his trailer up to a certain point, okay? Then, did he make the call, or did he actually walk down or drive down to visit Don's early June? Was it past June the 8th or something? Around this area. We'll just flip the image slightly. And Brenner was like, right, so I've got a couple of guns and equipment here. Can you keep a hold of and just hide and store them? I mean, yeah, I just wanted to remember one thing just briefly. It was Chase Venstra in the past who was almost like hoarding a collection of weapons in Clinton during that police standoff for 10 hours. Okay. I mean, this is the thing. When it comes to Don Hately, still don't really know too much about him, if I'll be honest with you, okay? When Tyler Feller did coverage on Don Hately, to some extent, in the early days, I would say, said that Don Hately had some kind of trucking company, or once had a trucking company, because Candy's coolly confirmed that Don is retired these days. Okay? But Tyler Feller said Don Hately has a criminal history, but it's not as bad. It's not as dark. So, what do those crimes entail? Does anyone know? Does anyone know the crimes Don Hately committed in the past? The reason why I say that is that could possibly explain to why Don Hately also was maybe reluctant to hold on to those firearms, because he felt like he didn't want to go back to prison. He's done his time in the past. He might have made some silly choices, reacted the wrong way. He didn't want it to catch back up on him. So that's what maybe encouraged him to, I know sometimes if you're not clean, you might be more likely to defend or cover for someone, because you might not have as much to lose, or you know how things work, you know how to avoid detection, how to avoid getting into trouble. Maybe if you're a clean individual with a clean record, you're probably very, very reluctant to do this, do that, participate this and participate in that. Even put aside crime and just doing like maybe some activities like, oh, some people are having a drinking game. Do you want to join in? And if you've never drunk alcohol, you might think, well, I've never had it before. I don't really know. I don't think it's worthwhile. Whereas if someone's like drinking bottles after bottles every single day, then maybe they're more likely to, participate. You've got to take that in mind, okay? So if anyone does know additional information about Don Hately, providing it's like public information, and maybe list it down below if you wish to, okay? I don't know if I already read it out in a comment what we looked at. Maybe we didn't, but I have seen it recently where someone said, with Don Hately moving away and keeping quiet, that could be a method. He might have information, whether it's been done yet or he's awaiting to be contacted by police, but he doesn't want to be in the area or anywhere nearby these potential suspects or dangerous people. Possibility. In a way, what I suggested in the past, that Don Hately, whilst being here for so long, moving elsewhere, wherever that may be, into the distance, into the sunset. Because, if you grassed up on your best friend, long-time friend, I don't think Brenner would be too happy. I mean, this is the other thing what we've got to acknowledge, that post, Dylan's disappearance, post Brenner handing the guns over to Don, leading into Brenner being in Weber County Jail. Candice Cooley said I don't know how long ago it is now, probably a month or two ago, that Brenner made a call to Don. Don didn't answer it at the time, and then Don tried calling back, but he did a misdial, so it never worked out. And there's been no more attempts since. So clearly shows that Don isn't too concerned in responding back. And it seems to imply that Brenner as well isn't too, insistent on trying again. So what was that all about, that potential phone call? What would have happened if Don picked up that phone and Brenner started talking? Maybe Don may have been more likely to listen to Brenner, considering they are friends. Do you think there's a possibility that if that call did go underway at the time, we'll do a poll right now. Do you think that Brenner may have directed or gave instructions to Don Hately to get some jobs done, do something, maybe regarding Dylan's case or regarding someone tied in the case? I think that's a possibility. We'll word it in different options. So under the circumstance that it was to do with Brenner contacting Don about the Dylan Brown's case, do you think it was either like A, Brenner instructing Don Hately to go after Chase Venstra or to try and convince others that Chase Venstra is guilty? Or do you think B, Brenner was maybe asking Don Hately for another favour, such as getting rid of potential evidence which is out there, or digging up evidence and moving it elsewhere? Or do you think C, it was Brenner confessing for the first time ever to someone close to him about what he's done and/or where Dylan is at? What do you think? I mean, unfortunate that didn't pick the phone call up at the time. But at the same time, it wasn't really that important. But it's just that unknown which has not been attempted ever since. If you're talking about Brenner not confessing, you're talking about Brenner not being interviewed or spoken to, and yet Brenner wanted to contact the odd person here and there, would have been worthwhile listening, even if you probably don't expect much, right? Because what other chances, opportunities do you have? Is what I mean. It seems like critical. I mean, do we have another option in the poll to add? I don't know if there is another option, such as maybe Brenner just called up Don to have a go at him for Don calling the police on him and kind of like getting him into trouble, maybe. Saying, oh, Don, you better run or something, because when I'm getting out of here, I'm going to track you down, because how dare you do this to me? Do you think that could have been the case? I don't know. Just think these like little talking points are very interesting. Like, what I'm feeling now is we've dissected bit by bit with Brenner, Don Brenner, locations, events, times, timelines, backing up with the court documents. And we've kind of stitched it all together now as to how things played out, what involved what caused this, the motive for that. And I feel that with Brenner, wanting a favour to be done, that Don keeps the firearms. Whether they were directly used in Don's disappearance or not, I think that was the motive to why Don grasped up on Brenner. Don wanted nothing to do with this, right? The catalyst which sped it up, though, was hearing about Dylan's disappearance. Don thinking, well, this is a bit coincidental. Brenner not wanting the firearms because it's for the best. Then find out that Dylan's gone missing. You tie it together. Don doesn't want to be dragged down with Brenner. So, Don does the right thing in a way, even though it might be, backstabbing a friend, but it's to save and cover your own back. And then as to then after moving away for good, maybe just to get away from it all. An alternative theory, maybe Don knew more than others, but he had to get away for his own safety. If he ever does have to add in information to the police. But then again, it has gone on for some time, though it has dragged on this case. Will we ever hear about any additional names down the line being involved, or people coming forward with information? I really don't know. But we can't do the poll right now because we've only just recently done the other. But is there any of you that feel that one of the firearms, I don't know how many there were, maybe 3 firearms or something, one of them was definitely the .22 caliber rifle. Do any of you feel that one of the firearms which Brenner passed on to Don was used to take out Dylan rounds? Do you think that's a possibility or not? I mean, it seems it would make more sense if they were just simply buried, taken away, far away. If it was like a key piece of evidence used, the murder weapon. You wouldn't want to keep it nearby on land. I mean, passing it on to someone else so they would get the blame is one way, but would you clean the gun down? Maybe. Makes you think, did Brenner clean the guns down before passing them on to Don? Just like how supposedly the same was done with Dylan's gun when it was returned back to Dylan's trailer. I'm not able to confirm that though. Completely unrelated, but just on the spot. What was it now? That point made by Joseph earlier about Wendover, Candice Cooley and Ellenberg in the casino when they were talking. Why did that play out? Let's just go down there quickly. Why did that actually happen to begin with? Does anyone know? And which casino was it? Oops. Was it Rainbow Casino? Are we... Oh, fuck off. What's that? Nugget? Right, maybe we've gone past it. Well, Nugget Hotel and Casinos. Let's just use this as an example. I saw a previous comment by Ellenberg in the chat where she said that she was originally working in a casino and then retired around that time. Has this got anything to do with Ellenberg and Candice Cooley being in a casino. Did they meet up? Was it planned? Was it around the time Ellenberg was working in one of the casinos and Candice Cooley came along? Does anyone know just a brief backstory behind it? Just like how they met. Was it planned or not? Was it during the time Ellen was working there or not? And why was Candice Cooley down there in the first place? You know what I'm saying? If anyone can clear it up, that'll be good of them to do so. Just back off from that, okay? But I do feel, though, that in this case there's been a few moments where if they just had this, if they were able to just hold on to that, if they were able to respond to this at the appropriate time, then maybe it would have made a lot of things easier, such as the truck data of Dylan's vehicle. It would have proved where exactly went and may have revealed Dylan's location, where he's buried, possibly. Phone call to Don, close friend of Brenner. I'm sure Brenner had something to say, but what? We don't know. We'll probably never know. Maybe it could have been a confession, or maybe it was an order to do something for him, yet another favour. Would Don have listened and took it underway? Maybe not, but might have been some more evidence to pass on to someone, right? Have we had any more people saying that they know of Brenner or that they've done this and done that and learnt about this, learnt about that? No, seems to be only Brookie, the one who did that. As for a little update with Brookie, basically, she just hovers about, okay? Yeah, she was called out in the past by all different people in the community. Jim Terry did, Candice Cooley directly did, and then that's what led to Brookie running away, moved on to some other cases, and then eventually, I don't know if it was her or Pancakes, whichever way round it was, Brookie then appeared on Salty Pancake's channel and has been on and off ever since. So there's that. Is it problematic? No, I wouldn't say it's the end of the world, but if you start associating or encouraging or bringing back people who have caused trouble to the case, it's probably not the best of things. It might damage your own credibility, if you have any to begin with. And as well, it just causes more confusion or a bit more tension, maybe with some. But yeah, what's happened has happened, right? How would I word it? At least in my experience, when looking at this case, I've not really had a headache, okay? Might have been a bit confused at times, might have been a bit tired, but not an actual headache or head pain. I'm trying to learn about the case. In times where I thought, oh God, am I a bit out of depth? But, you know, I've catched up eventually. But yeah, it's just so much easier though when using the maps when talking to narrate over it, because there's all these like little pointers and places of interest you can have a peek at and a look, okay? As for Lance Kelly, I think he's still doing the cadaver dog training, if I'm correct in saying. I wonder if once that's been completed, do you think that Lance will start directly looking for Dylan with the cadaver dog? Or do you think Lance will look for somebody else instead, or maybe just do a mix and match all at once? What's your thoughts on that? Will it be successful? I have no clue. Does it increase chances of finding something? I'd say to an extent it increases some chances of some success, right? The more resources and equipment you have, which can be helpful in a case like this, a missing persons case, that's always a positive. Is it handled by the right people? I don't know. I can't give my reply on that. Suitable amount of timing to train the dog? I don't know. Candice Cooley seems to strongly disagree. And I guess some viewers with time have. Like, this is the thing, again, a bit unrelated. Whilst you might get a fair few humans that disagree with one another then there's tension, then there's drama, etc., etc. I guess the simple thing to do is just find some common ground where everyone agrees on one thing, right? The most basic default ones would be majority of people that disagree with one another, or the people in the group's community that don't like one another, attack each other, could all be in agreement despite all that they want Dylan found, maybe. And then a couple of people that can't stand Candice Cooley. Candice Cooley can't stand some people for how they've treated her, and yet they can both agree that believe that Lance Kelly and the cadaver dog probably isn't the most practical of things or good at all. So these like little common grounds can reduce some of the tension at least, right? So what I want to do now is just kind of like conclude with this, right? There will still be places which were not talked about since, they've kind of fallen flat, and maybe you can take that as a sign that it was nothing but a rumour to begin with, and the trend died. There was nothing left to talk about or cover. If there's like any strong need for the chop shop to be investigated, then I'm surprised Ty Corbin or Lance Kelly didn't go down there at some point and then report it to police. You know what I'm saying? Or maybe even document it. And from what some have said about being there and not seeing any presence of humans, why did no one actually record it? That would have been helpful. Do you think anyone will do that? Anyone could do that? I'm not quite sure, to be honest. But yeah. Also, if you just join in now, which is probably towards the end of this video, welcome. You do rewind back to the beginning of this video. I was just briefly talking about a summary of Lucin itself, places of interest, okay? And then, as we've just been looking at just before, we're talking about the gun situation of items being handed over, right? Do you think there's any small possibility that Ed Harshberger left the area because of Dylan's disappearance? Do a poll right now. We could do it kind of vague as well. Okay. I think we should need to word it a bit differently. Do you feel that with Ed Harshberger moving away and Don Haley, was it because of the Dylan Rounds case? Are they tied to it in some way? Did they both leave because they're both guilty? They know something? Both? Or just one of the two? Or you feel there's like other reasons? Feel free to add your points on down below in the chat in this short space of time, okay? The last thing to take a look at, and I'm not sure if I mentioned it earlier, but we'll look at it now, by Rodney Jensen, posted 12 hours ago on the Find Don Rounds Facebook page, asking, "Where are you all searching and what can I do to help? My older brother is a big time country savvy and knows a lot of places in your area. How can we help?" Let's just see what the responses are, if there's anything of interest or not. Here we go. Sean Schaefer-Young. "I don't think they are searching. I believe they are just waiting on evidence. Also, they can't really be searching because of the weather as described by Candice Cooley." Okay, with the snow and ice. Emily King. "And if they are continuing to search, I believe they are holding off until the snow melts," and that's what they indicated. Yep, true. Jeremiah Bosley. "It's best to let the proper authorities do the search. We do not want to disturb the crime scene and jeopardize the case. We need to have faith in the authorities to bring Dylan home." Was Jeremiah around in the past, though, when authorities were supposed to be searching and handling evidence? I don't know. Mark Cox says, "You have faith in Box Elder Sheriff's Department? They're a joke." Jeremiah. "I mentioned Box Elder County Sheriff's Department? ? Well, that's who the authorities are, technically. They're the ones involved. They are the LE. Mark says, my bad. I assumed when you said authorities, you were in hence speaking on an authoritarian person or person. So maybe we should both mind our own business, right? Right, yeah, whatever. But, you know, like, if you're talking about, like, we should maybe just let the authorities handle stuff. Well, some of the people that handle the stuff are the police, the LE, because they've been the ones out there doing the investigations, searching for stuff, and then processing this, processing that, sending this to the labs, sending that to the labs. Like, so it still all links to the Bucks County Sheriff's Office. So technically, that's what that person was having faith in, but they're not admitting it, maybe. I live up there in desert. Have you ever been out there? Especially right now with all the snow. It's a crime scene that needs not to be disturbed. Jeremiah, once again, a little bit slow behind. Needs not to be disturbed. Too late for that. People have already been there in the past. It already has been technically disturbed. Maybe not all the items, but just the land, the ground itself, because of people visiting. It is where it is. Anne-Marie Warford, there are some really genuine folk around. Beautiful. What? Who are you talking about? Genuine folk? What, in Lucin? I thought it was described as a ghost town, but hardly anyone's there now. Weird comments I'm seeing left, right and centre just popping in. Very vague. Nanny Price. Yes, the authorities want to nail this person or persons real good and make sure they get the justice Dylan deserves. Well, Nanny, have you not been following Candice Cooley and her recent sayings in the recent interviews? She's been saying that there's only one person involved and one person only, and there's no more evidence and there's no evidence whatsoever that points to anyone else whatsoever. It's just all Brenner. This is what I mean. You would have thought that people may have been more programmed or in on it or up to date. The people that are directly associated on the Find Dylan Rounds Facebook page, you thought there would have been more hardline Candice Cooler supporters, or at least have more knowledge than others. But don't seem to be the case. Boyd Porter. Due to weather, it takes one heck of a rig to get around, and I've been helping neighbours survive the winter, taking supplies. Pulling people out my rig has lockers and chains on all four. The county does plough some roads, but snowdrifts can easily close them. I'm always looking, but in my travels, nothing to interfere with the investigation. Okay. Robert Kuhlman. Read through the group and watch the videos pinned at the top of the page. It'll give you information you need. They just released a video a couple of weeks ago and explains what is happening. And Marianne, justice for Dylan. Okay. So that's basically it for that little post. Just wanted to share that with you because, as you can clearly see, there are still people here and there itching and scratching to get involved, to try and help find Dylan and solve the case. It's just interesting to see how other people respond to it, right? Okay, Candice Cooley didn't respond there, but maybe in a few days' time she might say something. As we've seen in the past, we've seen how cycles have gone. 1 minute public search, next minute no. 1 minute they want it but it can't happen, then it does happen, then they don't want anything to do with it anymore, then they want the police even though they called the police out to begin with, and then there's a long period where it's just call out the police, have a go, criticise, and then work with the police again, and then quiet. So that's literally the transition, how it's gone, the pattern. Okay, let me know your thoughts though, if there's anything else you want to add on. I hope you was able to enjoy the video and find it somewhat interesting. If there were any key points in Lucin which weren't listed at the beginning of the video, feel free to bullet point them down below. It'll just help strengthen the summary, okay? And once again, just to highlight the importance, if you haven't checked out the previous video, feel free to do so because it does summarise key dates and events timelined and structured in official court documents, okay? As I said, there'll be a link down below in the pinned comment section for you to watch. If you do have any additional comments, questions, thoughts, ideas, feel free to leave a comment down below, okay? So thanks for watching. We'll see what happens next. And yeah, goodbye and good night for now.